Thank you for tuning into the Buyer's Guide podcast, where we talk all things property and finance. My name is Peter Mastriani. I am the founder of the Buyer's Guide, which has essentially been established to really help as many people as possible buy their first home, right through to building a property portfolio, securing their financial future. Now, today's cast is all about understanding a property contract of sale. So let's get to it. Understanding the terms and conditions, or more commonly phrased, the T's and C's, are a long document. They have lots of sign here stickers. They're generally considered the identifying marks. Some other distinguishing figures also include a lot of ambiguous terms, and they can be used as sleeping aids. Boring, yes, but it's kind of really important. So stick with us on this one. Whether you're a first home buyer or a sophisticated investor, it's pretty likely that there will be three types of contracts that you will be exposed to. The first being a private treaty sale, second being an auction contract, and lastly being an off the plan contract of sale. In today's podcast, we're going to be talking about private treaty sales and also auctions. So, when you're buying through an agent or a private seller, you're generally entering into a private treaty contract or a private treaty sale. The contract is legally binding once it is signed by both parties and ensures the property is not sold to a higher bidder. Prior to signing, I think it's of the utmost importance that you arrange for your solicitor or your conveyancer to advise you on the legal process and to look through the contract you wish to sign. Once it is signed, you'll be entering into a treaty and a holding deposit will be payable. A deposit is really put down in good faith. Technically, you only need to put down $1. However, agents and vendors will question your intention should you do so. Real estate agents will typically take their commission from the deposit. So, you know, they're going to be motivating you to provide additional funds. This deposit will usually be held in a trust account by the real estate agent. Normally, 5% of the purchase price should suffice. However, use your judgment in each scenario. Now, the essence of this contract is really a checklist which will cover off probably about 9 or 10 different things. There could be more if there's special considerations that are also included, but it'll cover off these factors: the address and the physical dimensions of the property. Secondly, it'll list the plan and council reference numbers. Thirdly, it'll list the non-fixed items. Fourthly, it'll provide details of the settlement. 5 will be inspection reports. Legal aspects and other breaching contracts or other breaches of the contract would be included as a section. Seventhly, there would be penalties for delays that would also be outlined. It would also have a section regarding easements and other restrictions, and there would also be a section on the cooling off period of the contract. That's fundamentally what a private treaty sales contract would look like. Now, if you're bidding at an auction, the contract that you sign at an auction is very different from the private treaty sale. The big difference between the two is that auctions are a cash sale, in that upon the fall of the hammer, you're legally bound to exchange contracts and pay a deposit on the day. There is no cooling off period. Essentially, the contract goes unconditional on that day. Inspections for building and pest will need to be completed prior to the auction. In an auction contract of sale, bidding conditions will be outlined by the auctioneer at the beginning of the process. These are put into place so agents can control the process, but ultimately the contract doesn't bind until it's signed. So seek professional advice on this, and importantly, obtain a copy of the contract before the auction if you intend to bid. your legal representative will be able to provide advice on unfavourable conditions, which you can then seek to get deleted or amended. Your finance will need to be approved, and a deposit will be payable on the day. If you see your dream property and you don't have your house in order from a finances perspective, what you could look to do is obtain a deposit bond. Now, deposit bonds can be obtained within 48 hours, and it'll allow you to bid with confidence on the day, knowing that your deposit will be covered for that for the auction day, and then you can go on to seek the finance thereafter. But I would highly recommend wherever possible to have your finance at least at pre-approval prior to attending an auction. Now, the property can definitely be bought prior to the auction date, and it's as simple as making an offer in the same as what you would do with a private treaty sale. Now, agents can be a little dismissive of this approach, particularly if they're keen to go to auctions. So be sure to put your offer in writing so that way they will take it to the vendor. Now, agents can be difficult to deal with in these scenarios as auctions are a great opportunity for their own self promotion based on the hype that an auction can generate. Also, open houses means meeting more buyers who are potentially sellers as well. However, if the price is right, the best intention is for the buyer and the vendor to start negotiating and really to nut it out. So, for more information on auction rules and regulations, I also recommend that you visit your Fair Trading or Consumer Affairs Authority in your relevant state or territory. And just quickly on off the plan contracts of sale, we will have a separate podcast that will go through this in more detail. But look, in essence, there are some similarities to the private treaty contract, but the differentiator being is that it isn't completed. So that brings some big differences. So before signing, again, I would recommend that you speak to a solicitor and make sure the following aspects are going to be covered off. A cooling off period, make sure that's in place. Secondly, have plan disclosures. Normally in larger developments, not all aspects of the final government or council approval may be in place. Also, plans will cover off finishes. So before putting your signature anywhere, be absolutely certain you understand the plan and are comfortable with the level of disclosure. Be a devil for the detail in all of these aspects, as developers will try and retain the right to alter the plans if required so they can finish up the job. Now, a deposit will also be payable. Sometimes up to 10% will be required, and it's going to be held in a trust until settlement. Look, also make sure you find out if interest is being payable and who will receive that interest as well. Look, it's certainly in your interest, if it is accruing interest in that funds, to be the recipient of it. Particularly if the development takes 12 months or more. Ensure that there's inclusions in warranties just to make sure that you're protected from bias changes and also determine whether or not you can make your own changes as well. Finance, make sure that it is subject to finance. This is important as the bank will undertake an evaluation upon the completion of the property. Vals are particularly important as it will go against the loan to value ratio. So you want to ensure that the finished product value aligns to what you're going to pay for it. Defects, be sure to do a pre-inspection and get any touch-ups completed before settlement. And completion, timelines for completion will vary, and generally the developers will have some flexibility around that. If the developers cannot complete to the timelines and are blowing out considerably, it could be possible for you to exit the contract, obviously as long as you retain the deposit. Again, if you're going down this path, I highly recommend that you obtain some legal advice. But look, all in all, whether you're entering into a private treaty sale, into an auction contract, or you're looking at entering into a contract for an off-the-plan property, the actual contract documents are complex stuff. So it's imperative that you understand what you're entering into. the golden rule of them all is that if it's not in writing or it hasn't been signed by the person, then it's not enforceable. So before you put your autograph anywhere, be absolutely certain of what you're entering into. Seek professional advice and guidance, and best of luck. Be sure to tune into our following podcast, where again we'll continue to talk about all things property and finance. Hopefully, you found this of some use. All the best. Good luck. Bye bye.